Welcome back to Gems Podcast. I'm the founder and host, Miss Genesis Amaris Kemp, and with me today is Kendall Smith. And here's a bit about Kendall. Kendall Smith was a complete rookie when he became a dad, welcoming his giant baby boy, Connor. Not only was Kendall a rookie at being a father, but he was also a rookie because he had little experience with his own dad, having been raised by a single mom. So to understand how to parent successfully, he spoke to many role models about fatherhood. The lessons he learned as a rookie father are collected in his book, Rookie Father, subtitled A Playbook for Men Experiencing Fatherhood for the First Time. The work is available to order via bookshop.org, indiebound.org, and other mass online retailers. It was released by Familius Publishing in February, and Rookie Father has garnered 12 endorsements to date, and it is rated 4.8 stars on Amazon. So without further ado, please welcome Kendall Smith to Gems Podcast.
Thanks, Genesis. Great to be here. Thanks for having me on your show.
My pleasure, Kendall. So we're going to start with either a fun game. I'm going to give you two options. We could do a rapid fire game, or we can break the ice up front. Which would you like to do?
Let's do the rapid question game. I like that.
Awesome. So you want to play it now, or you want to just play it at the end?
Let's do it now.
Okay, awesome. So question one, if you could have any superpower, what would it be?
Oh, I got a cool one. And I thought about this years ago. The ability to speak any language spoken on planet Earth. So I could talk to anyone.
Ooh, that's super cool. And no one has said that. So you're definitely the first.
All right.
Two, dream car.
Dream car. Oh my God. Porsche Boxster convertible with an electric engine. I'm not going gas anymore. I'm done.
Three, if you could go anywhere in the world, money was no option, but here's the caveat. You may not be able to make it back home. Where would it be?
I would go scuba diving, I guess alone, because if I can't come back, I guess that implies that I'm going to die. But I've done a lot of scuba diving over the years. It's a great hobby. And I would go to probably Indonesia and do one big blowout, 2 months of diving all over the South Pacific.
Okay. Four, if you could have anything in the world, money was no option, what would it be?
I'd say world peace, because I think a lot of people wish for that. I guess it would be probably greater honesty and greater education, so that everyone is a little more educated, a little more wise, and a little more understanding of how the world works, and do it in a more civil way.
Okay, I like the substance behind that. Five, if you could go back and give your younger self a piece of advice, what would it be?
Patience. I was a very impatient young man. I was maybe too ambitious, maybe too hard on myself. And just to remind myself, life is long. Just take it one day at a time and live in the moment.
Six, favorite food.
Oh my God, that's impossible. I would say steak. A perfectly cooked steak, baked potato, and maybe some grilled corn on the cob or something. Summer's coming, so I'm ready for it.
Seven, favorite color.
Orange, no question.
Okay. Eight, if you could recreate your wedding day, would you change anything?
Not a thing. It was perfect. We had a great day. It was awesome. We had a wonderful time, so I'm not changing a darn thing.
9, in your bio, you said you're big baby boy Connor. Why did you preface big baby boy?
When he was born, he was 8.4 pounds, and he actually had what looked like developed deltoids, shoulder muscles. And about 10 minutes after he was born, we nicknamed him Connor the Barbarian. And he's a big boy. He's going to be 6'1", 6'2". So he's got, I think, a brighter and taller future than his dad ever had.
Nice. Do you only have one son?
One and done. That was it. We just fell in love and we were happy and content, and we're sticking with that.
Okay. And
Yeah.
then 10, you could pass or play, but here are the rules. If you play, I ask one last question. If you pass, you could ask me a question about myself. Do you want
Okay.
to, what are you going to
I
do?
I will take the question.
Okay. 10, say you were on an exotic island. They
Mhm.
gave you limited funds. What are you buying?
Before I get to the island, or am I going there?
No, you're already at the island, but you have limited funds.
Fishing pole.
Fishing pole. Okay.
Fishing pole. Got to fish, right? Got to catch. Got to get sustenance.
I like that. So thank you, Kendall, for playing rapid fire. It definitely allows myself and the audience and viewers to know you a little bit better. So let's dive into the rookie and fatherhood. So we're gonna build up to you coming out with your book. So in order for us to build up there, I need to know a little bit more about who Kendall is. So what was it like growing up in a house where you just saw your mom and you didn't have that father figure? And do you think that it played a huge impact on your life?
It played a significant role. And the interesting thing was when my parents separated, I was 6 years old. And by the time I was 8, I started to look at other father figures, other role models. And I started to look at them because I knew one day I was going to be a father. And I wanted to be one at a young age. And I wanted to give a better experience to my children. And without that father figure, without a playbook, I really took a deep dive on what it meant to be a great parent. I learned good examples, and I also took note of bad examples. And what I tried to do as a parent, as an author, is to try to provide the best advice that I learned, which literally started at 8 years old all the way until the book got published.
Wow. So did you check off the box of being a young father?
No, I was an older father. I was about 41 when my son was born, and I was 42 actually. So we were slightly older parents. And in the book, I actually have a chapter about when you're a young dad, you have all this energy and you have no patience. And when you're an older dad, your energy is TBD, but you have lots of more patience that you can offer to your child. So it's important for older dads to be fit and in shape to keep up with their kids, and for younger dads to really promote and embrace patience so they're a better parent to their kids.
Just the just for them to be well rounded and not everything go 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 go, because then I think you miss out a lot on your kid's life.
Yeah. No, it's true. You've got to be there every day. Have some presence every day, even if it's a small, singing your child to sleep. It's important to have that.
Did you ever have resentment towards your father, even though he was there up until you were 6, before him and your mom separated? And
Well, after they separated, my father moved to Florida. So he was 2,000 miles away. After I was probably from the age of 9 to 12, I was flying down solo, which you could still do. But when you're flying down solo to see your father and spending 2 or 3 weeks at most a year with him, at least that bond was there. And then my father, he remarried, had 2 children, and then he cut off child support. And that's when the bitterness started to stick, and it burned. And it was painful to see my mother go through that. And I experienced it firsthand. And I give financial advice in the book, Rookie Father. But I also, for me personally, when my son was born, it was the greatest reset button I've ever had in life. It's just like, okay, it's a fresh slate, fresh take. It's important to embrace fatherhood with a new and healthy perspective.
thank you for sharing that, because having your father remarry and have another family and him cut off child support, it's almost like he was saying, oh, I have replacements, and he alienated you. So was that your feeling? Did you feel like you were unwanted, unloved, or etc.?
I don't know if it was unwanted. That's kind of harsh because we did get in touch with other a few more times after that. But I think just seeing what my mom went through and how let down she was, that really affected me. And as far as my personal perspective, it really evolved after I became a father. and knowing I was going to be there and knowing my son would never have to go through this. And that's kind of the saving grace when you're a new father and you're raised in absence of one and you're giving a better experience to your children.
So, how long did it take you to formulate the idea that you wanted to write a book to help other men who went through something similar to you? Or maybe their father didn't leave, maybe they just never had a relationship with their father, or their father died at a young age, or
Yeah.
whatever the case may be, because there's so many dynamics for a child not to have the father. And we can't just pinpoint it on one because it's different with every person.
It is. And it's regardless of the background of an absent father, not knowing your father, early death, when you are baptized as a new father, there's no going back. And you have to start kind of embrace the role you're given. It's true. It's when you think about parenthood, it's truly adulthood. You're responsible for the life of another child. So the mission of the book, what I did was I had written fiction for years prior. I have a couple books that are still out. Vault 2112, which is a money heist kind of thriller. But when my son was born at around 9 months old, I was looking to pen something different. And one piece of advice I was given was, write what you know. And I know what it's like not to have a father and to be one. So I wanted to capture all the advice I received and put it in a book that's really written for how men consume advice content, which is quick and succinct and to the point.
Yeah, because sometimes men, not to throw any shade, sometimes they just don't like reading books and they rather
Yeah.
watch it in a movie or pop in some AirPods and listen while they're working out or whatever the case may be. So, whenever you began to survey different males, how did you come up with the process, and did you have like a rhyme or reason on who you were going to interview for the book?
Um, what I did is I interviewed one couple and two other experts. One was a stay-at-home dad because I wanted to get his perspective, and his family history is rich and fantastic. I also interviewed my mentor in the corporate world, who was able to balance work and family life, much more effectively than anyone I ever met. So I wanted to get, how his executive experience, how did he manage that with children? And then I interviewed two dads. I wanted to get provide and shed light on what it's like to be a same-sex couple raising kids, the challenge they have, and to also kind of a nod to progressivism to make sure that when you read this book, you kind of walk in their shoes and you can feel what it's like in their world. And those help to kind of enrich the book, which is advice that I've gotten from everyone, my mother-in-law, friends, kids, parents growing up, you name it. It all got in there, and then it got condensed and put in a manner where each chapter is only 1 to 2 pages and gives a quick tip.
Wow, that
Yeah.
is really condensed. Whenever you said 1 to 2 pages, my eyes lit up because that is very like straight to the point. And then just a wild card question here. Did you ever send your father a copy of the book so he could see it from your perspective?
Oh, great question. He passed away in 2012, a year before my son was born, and then I started penning the book in 2016. So he never got to see it, and it's a shame. But it's it is what it is. There's nothing I could change about it.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that. And I'm sorry for your loss. It's
No, thank you.
never easy losing a father. I just lost my dad. It'll be 2 years
Oh,
this November.
I'm sorry.
Um, so whenever you think about where you are now with the book and you think about your son Connor, has he read your book and given you any thoughts from a child's perspective?
Yeah, he read the first 6 chapters, which sounds like, wow, he's read 6 chapters. He read 11 pages. So he didn't get that far, but that's how men consume content. They want quick and succinct. And he was a little saddened because I was totally upfront. In the first part of the book is called Your Foundation, and it really addresses, let's get it on the table. Let's get that subject of your absent father on the table. And the entire book's not devoted to that, but it gets into some rough subjects. My son read that and felt so bad for me. I'm like, no, don't feel bad. It's going to be fine. It's that honesty, I think, in the front of the book opens guys up to receiving advice and understanding that you're not alone. There's 19 million men, according to the U.S. Census, that were raised in absence of a father that are entering their parenting years now.
Yeah, I think my husband falls into that category. Well, him and his dad are building their relationship now. So
Good.
it was like his mom raised him and his aunts and stuff and his uncles, and then his dad wasn't there, but his dad was very much alive. And then whenever he was a teenager, he rekindled that with his father, which is
Good.
good because some men never rekindle a relationship. And then now into the adulthood, as we're getting ready to build our family, I'm like, our daughter will only have one grandfather now since my dad passed away, and he was very much involved in my life. So I like having these conversations because I don't know what it's like to have an absent father, but if I could shed some light on it, it can help somebody put together the pieces or answer some questions that they may have circling around in their head, because it's nothing against you, and you're not the reason why your father is not there. So I feel like some of these kids, and not just kids, young adults and adults hold this resentment in their heart against that male figure that leaves them, and they never get over it, and they wonder why they have traumas and underlying conditions in their adulthood. So let's talk about psychology in a sense here.
Sure.
Do you ever encourage some of the men that now come into your world who don't have a father to seek help from a paid and trained professional like a psychologist, a therapist, or etc., to unlock some of those roadblocks that they may be harboring?
Sure. I'll get to that, but the one thing I to get back to is it's fantastic when you're a new father and you embrace it and you do better for your kids than your dad did for you. It is pure redemption in the grand scheme of things. It is when you grind it out with the sleepless nights and you're there and you're bonding with your kid, the payoff down the road when you have an everyday interaction with your child is so rewarding. And on a lot of levels, it actually doesn't bury, but when you're replacing negative memories with much more positive ones when you're there for your child. So I wish you and your husband all the success in the world as parents. I think it's wonderful. I think your husband's gonna be so stoked when he's a little older and he's like involved and he's like, oh my God. And if his dad's there, that's fantastic. It's wonderful. And the fact he rekindled that relationship is so valuable. And I applaud him for that. As far as professional help, I advocate that uh, consistently throughout the book. If your marriage gets into trouble, if you have to go find help, your marriage is worth preserving for the benefit of your children. And if there's nothing more healthy if you have these fears, anxieties of talking to a professional about your absent father and now you're going to be one. I think it's so rewarding because you will learn more about yourself in those sessions, and it all comes back to your family, all back to your upbringing, and it also that counterbalances what you have in front of you, which is you have a new child and you have a chance to start new. Every child is a clean slate when they're born into this world.
Absolutely. And I think more men that are able to have the conversation with another male figure or a paid
Yeah.
and trained professional, it helps them bring things into context and understand it. And sometimes it's hard to talk to a man, like from a woman's perspective, because we don't know how they feel. And, men like to compartmentalize things. And I like to say women are like noodles. I didn't come up with that. I've heard someone say that. And I was like,
Right.
it's so true, because they don't want to talk about certain things because they don't want to show a sign of weakness or vulnerability, when in actuality I think it's your strength that is helping you get to the other side, because you're becoming a better man for the woman in your life, for the children in your life, and future generations to come, just by opening up and saying, I hurt just like you hurt. There are certain things that are going on that I'm trying to get over. You don't have the answers to everything, and that's okay, because we're all human.
Yep, I agree. Yeah, so that's it's when you get into the habit of expressing how you feel as a man, it solves a lot of problems because otherwise it can come off as anger, it can come across as bitterness or nothing, and there's no communication, and that's a time bomb. You got to like get your feelings out there. So I encourage men to do that, and I do that so in the book.
Absolutely. Do you think of well, not do you think about, have you thought about coming up with a workbook to go along with the book as a parallel, whereas men or even women who are reading the book, they could like journal out some questions that they have or some tactics that they want to apply in their life to reach out to some of the men that have walked out.
Well, that's a great question. So, and in the book, what I actually do is I address the fact that when dads aren't raised without a father, if you look at the role models in your life that you were raised with, and you look at, regardless if it's your mom, which is probably the number one person you're going to go to, but other people that were inspirations, teachers, scout leaders, community leaders, and reach out and talk to them and get into their values and really kind of pinpoint like what you liked about them that you can espouse yourself as a parent to your child, and it'll make you a stronger parent, but it'll give you a boost of confidence that, look, you're not alone in this, and you can cull together some great wisdom that you can apply yourself.
Mm. Yes, very much true because conversations need to be had and reflection. It's so important to take time to reflect because I think reflection is part of that growth journey. And I like that you have a section of that in the book where they could do that and just really read the book, but then take what they've read and apply it.
Yeah. That whole book is centered on that. It's real world advice, everything from financial advice when you're trying to get a foundation for yourself and your family, to managing in-laws, managing interfamily relationships, which is the number one blind spot for men who are raised in absence of a father. They don't see different families intermingling and managing that process, and it's going to be a thorny road. So there's advice in there for that as well.
So let's spend some time there because you bring up a very good point there. Because sometimes they don't see the value of like doing all these family activities if they've never been in a position of doing it themselves. So it's like foreign to them. And they're like, why do you have to do that? And I feel like sometimes that could create a rift in the marriage if your wife, your partner, or however you address your other person in your life is spending more time with their family and they don't have that dynamic. So can you talk about it maybe from your personal standpoint, Kendall, or maybe some of the people you have interviewed in your book?
Yeah, happy to. So the one thing I look at and advise guys is when you're doing family events and you're getting together, is to keep an open mind, keep things as civil as possible. If you have relatives that have made a transgression in the past, forgive them, start anew when the child is born. But I think family gatherings, the more people you have involved in your child's life, the more love they're going to have, the more warmth, the more comfort. And that's critical, I think, in terms of providing that child with what is a sense of family. And it's your obligation as a parent to give that to them as much as possible. So even if you have quirky in-laws that may drive you a little bit nuts, you have to work through that yourself because it benefits your child. And you also, I give advice in the book where, if your wife plans like a 5-day road trip or a 5-day stay with your in-laws, you got to give yourself a break and you got to take a pause, either taking a drive, limiting your time to a certain amount of time with your in-laws if it's that stressful. Like I talk about real world examples where if you need some practical advice in managing those situations, you can do so with diplomacy.
Oh my gosh, I'm over here processing. I thought I was on mute. I was like, So you could do that with diplomacy and then just giving yourself time to kind of just understand what's happening there, but then also taking a break so you could kind of recharge and tap back in, you know, to the activities because sometimes people will just go along with the flow and their body language says it all, like I don't want to be here. They put a wall up, and if you have that, then you're pushing away those in-laws from interacting with you, and then they may feel like, you feel like you're too good to be involved in their family, when in actuality they don't really understand that maybe it's hard for you to be at a function because you've never had that dynamic in your own life and you're just
Yeah.
trying to tread lightly, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think you have to give yourself some space to adapt and grow into it.
Hmm.
It's not going away. It is not going away. And you've got to find, and I think you'll find people in your family of in-laws that you can bond with, you can connect with, And it takes time, but you have to be honest with yourself as far as like, look, this is a new dynamic I need to learn. And then again, there's limits. Like I met one dad, and this is advice in the book, where his wife wanted to go and spend 4 days with her family. And he said, okay, that's great. I'll stay for 2 full days. I'm out. Like it's driving distance. Stay with them. I don't want to deny, he did not want to deny his wife time with her family, which is great. And I guess he had these in-laws were quirky. I'm not sure, but he said, okay, I'm gonna leave after a couple of days and I'll see you when you get home. And it worked out well. So it's just one of these ways you can still be diplomatic, be involved in the family, but not have to do everything on your wife's terms. And the same goes for your wife as well.
So what he did in that incident was he set up boundaries for himself, but then he also made his wife feel like he was supporting her, which he did. He supported her by going down there for 2 days, and then he was seen and very much present. But then he left and allowed her the ability to spend time with her family. So whenever you and your wife first got together and Connor came into the picture, what was that dynamic like for you, Kendall?
We were so excited. We were so excited to welcome Connor to the world, and it's a wonderful moment. And in the thrill of it, what you start to do is you start to build up kind of a resistance to wear and tear. You kind of power through the challenging times. Our son was had colic, so that was rough on us, but we worked through it together. The other thing is that when you get into parenting, you're gonna run into tough times, and you have to get through it together. So when you walk in the door, I advise dads, like, take over for the baby. Like, take it over, give your wife a break if she's a stay-at-home mom. If not, be involved with them actively, your children actively, to make sure that you're both managing the responsibility.
Any advice that you would give to a younger dad that is just starting off in fatherhood versus an older dad? Because you started off older, but there's a lot of people who are now having kids younger and a lot younger. And
Mm.
sometimes they feel like pawning off those kids on their parents. I'm like, your parents didn't make those kids. They're there to help you, not
Right.
take over.
I think two things. One is you have to embrace patience. You're going to be, as a young dad, you're going to be tried on a multitude of fronts. So, and also looking at in-laws that are willing to help, be grateful, thank them, like bring them over, prepare a meal if you can, as gratitude. I think the more you lend out or express your appreciation for them to give you free time, uh, it'll be rewarded. You can't do it every single day. And the other thing is, when you get that free time, plan it. Like, go out on a date with your wife. Like, go out and enjoy your time. Or if you haven't been out with your boys in a while, like, go out and have a fun night out and give yourself that release of tension and responsibility. But get back to business, because you will harbor resentment if you are always looking for people to take over parenting responsibilities of your own children.
Great advice. So patience, continue to, engage in the relationship, even though you have a child. Make sure you're dating your other half and you're letting them know that I see you, I hear you, I love you, and I value you. Because sometimes people, once they have that bundle of joy, they feel like that bundle of joy is their sole focus and responsibility, which he or she is, but also connecting with your mate is also important as well. And there has to be a balance and boundaries there.
Yeah.
And then I also like the fact that you said, do something nice, like go out with your boys or let her go out with her girls, or,
Yeah.
just change it up a little bit. And then I really like the gratitude piece. You have to thank people who are there for you, their support as your support system, because sometimes they may feel like I'm doing it all and I'm not even being thanked for what I'm doing, and I'm not obligated to do this. I choose to do it.
Yeah, there's a lot of truth in that.
So, as we wind down, Kendall, I want you to leave our listeners and viewers with your call to action for this segment. What do you want them to do once they hear this? Like pick up a copy of the book, listen to some other podcasts, or, challenge where they are in their fatherhood journey.
I would say that when you pick up a copy of Rookie Father, it is written specifically for a new dad and the advice he can use in all aspects of his life. And it's short, succinct, and informative advice that can be applied to everyday situations. As far as advice goes, you need a lot of it when you're a new parent. Babies don't come with manuals. So you got to get involved. I would reach out to anyone you admire who's a parent. And then again, I think listening to podcasts, I think picking up advice books outside of my own that could be helpful. But the number one thing for you to do is to embrace fatherhood. You're a student all over again. And the quicker you can absorb that advice and also have the wisdom to know what's good advice and what's not, that will help you in your journey to becoming a successful parent.
Yes. And I love the fact that you said babies do not come with manuals. It's so true. It's trial by error. And another thing that I would say is never compare yourself as a father with other fathers because you don't know what their dynamics are and you don't know what's going on behind closed doors. So give yourself grace and mercy as you're walking through this journey because it's new and enjoy every step of the way and don't try to rush through it, is what I would add from a female perspective.
Yeah, no, it's healthy. I think it's also you're going to make mistakes. And I've had times where I felt so humbled going to and having to apologize for my son for the way I handled the situation. And it stinks. But if you don't admit to it and you don't embrace the fact that you are human and to human is to err, it's like you will do so and just admit it, learn from it, and grow and try different tactics. Seek people out that could offer you wisdom. And I think it will be helpful.
Amazing. And thank you for adding that value there and another wisdom nugget. So, Kendall, I want you to share how they could connect with you via your website if you have one and where you primarily hang out on social media.
Sure, happy to. Yeah, so Rookie Father went on sale in February, and it's available at all major bookstores, Amazon, Barnes and Noble. It just went on sale at Walmart.com, which is great. Target.com. You could also go to your local bookstores. It's available nationally. Social media. I have a website that is therookiefather.com, and then you could look for The Rookie Father on Instagram, on Facebook, and I'm also on Twitter at Author Kendall. And my email, it's therookiefather@gmail.com. I welcome any and all feedback.
And there you have it, listeners and viewers. You just heard Kendall Smith, author of The Rookie Father. I encourage you to go out and grab a copy of this book, share it with some new fathers in your life, or if you're a new father, grab that book and learn and grow because tips are always there to be given. But what are you doing with those tips? Are you applying it? And are you giving yourself grace and mercy? I also challenge you to share and subscribe to this segment. We're on 40 plus platforms. We also have our video component available on YouTube at Gems with Genesis Amaris Kemp. And lastly, but not least, we're currently looking for brand sponsors. Space is limited, but we are currently ranked in the top 3% globally out of 2.8 million podcasts per www.listennotes.com. And you can find out more information about plugging in by heading to my website, which is genesisamarisKemp.net, and clicking the tab for podcast, and you'll find all info there. Until next time, peace, love, and lots of blessings. Have yourself an amazing day and go take the challenge. Be great.